We are back. Week 2, the Get Fucked TreeHills podcast. Successful name, I think. Good reception to the name. Decent reception to the pod. Week 1, not too bad, not too messy. Props to Bill. Good editing. Props to us. Decent podcast episode. So we came into this thing. We said we'll do 4 or 5 of these throughout the year. We decided, hey, why not try to run it back a very similar format? Try to nail this thing. Maybe we can churn them out on a weekly basis. Maybe we can make them a little quicker. How you boys feeling?
I think
before we get started here, go ahead, Pesh.
Same as you. I mean, I think the first week was a good start. I think there's room for obvious improvements, and I think the most obvious one staring us right in the face here. I mean, let's look at our guy Bill here. I mean, someone got the memo from Shanzi.
I appreciate that, Pesh. I'm just trying to look good. They say you do a better job when you look good. So I'm just trying to follow that mantra right there.
Look good, feel good, talk good. I think that's the saying, right?
Do you guys like my mustache?
Talk good, pod good.
There's always week 3, Bill.
Yeah, it's a good thing there are 18 weeks. Maybe we'll play around with that a little bit more, but oof, that was really bad, actually. I mean, it's struggling. But hey, here we go. Let's kick things off with a tradition. Here we go. We got a shot poured, I think. Does everyone have theirs? Bill, do you have yours as well? Week 2, Get Fucked Tree Hill Pod. Here we go.
Here's Sam.
Right to the beer.
Let's get to it.
All right, boys, before we get into it, so same format as last time. After Effect. Same format as last time. We're going to kick things off with a week 2 recap. We'll get into it with Pesh's hot takes after that. We'll do a little buy sell. We'll do a little power rankings from Bill after that, and we'll wrap things up with our week 3 predictions. Before I kick off the week 2 recap, I'm looking at 1 and 4 on my screen. Pesh, you bought a pizza this week. You're 1 and 1. What's your feeling right now? How are you feeling about this week? How are you feeling about your team?
Overall, when you got my roster, you got to be confident. You got to stay confident, believe in your players. I think we're going to pull through this week. I'm not too worried about my opponent.
It's definitely a good roster. We'll preview that in a second. I think I said 1 and 4. You guys are 1 and 3 combined, Bill. That's because you're 0 and 2. You're in 9th, the number 1 preseason team. What about you? Where's your head at?
Yeah, it's a rough start. It's not the start that I was hoping for. It's caused a little trouble between me and my wife in my marriage. She starts looking at me a little different. She starts asking questions. She starts, asking about my decision making. It's not headed the right direction right now.
Real question is, did she start looking at Hassett differently? I mean, this guy's 2-0.
I try not to talk about him. I just focus on myself.
Who would blame her?
Yeah.
So with that, before we get into it, boys, I'm going to do a little bit of a week 2 recap. We're going to try something new. I'm going to do this in the fastest 2 minutes style, as pioneered by Chris Berman, as made more modernly popular by the Part of My Take boys. So, Bill, cue the music. This is your week 2 recap. Kicking us off with game 1 is Curt 55-93, Fenchy 5-20. We're calling him Bustin' Fields as Fenchy's top keeper ran for a measly 3 yards. The fields dried up in Tampa, and Bustin failed to reach 80 points for the 2nd week in a row. At least run, CMC, even at his old age, is still dropping bangers. Bad fellow hip-hop teammates Notorious C. Red Lee and branded Aaliyah Ayuk can't make it to 30. On Curt's side, you can see Daniel waving goodbye to Fenchy's team en route to a massive 152. Devonta Smith puts up 77, proving to be a big return piece in Curt's trade with Sean, and Mike Williams drives the Gus bus, as each put in 40-point outings. In typical Curt fashion, James cons her into playing with Curt's Stafford, as the two combine for a premature 150. Curt, 593, Fenchy, 520. Bill, your instant reaction. And Bill failed at his job. All right, we take you to Scotland, where Matt minced Sean's team into a nice boiled bag of fantasy haggis. After being crowned the quarterback king by Pesh, Sean's quarterbacks failed like feudalism, as Sir Lawrence couldn't break 55, and Anthony King Richard's son took a wound to the head and couldn't make it to 70. For Keenan Allen and Raheem Mostert both had career nights with 92 points, but Dalvin Cook was a reverse first and middle name away from 70 more points, as the former and current Viking running backs failed to pillage Max Village and combined for a mere 5 points for Sean. The pizza winner enjoyed an Italian feast in Detroit, as a Detroit shootout between Geno Zeist and Jared from Subway. Just like in real life, Jared lost, but Mac won, as the two quarterbacks combined for 3 plates of salami and 260 points. Rashad White bounced back with 66 points, and Kenneth Walker added 63 to give Mac strong production from the rookie keeper slot. Lamb landed the final blow and told Sean to see these nuts as he 69 Sean into oblivion. Max 609, Sean 512. Pesh, your instant reaction.
I mean, here I am. I'm like humbled here. I was the pizza loser, Max the pizza winner. Is Mac back, the champion from last year? He's coming back. He's bouncing back. Is Gino for real? He might be. I didn't believe. I'm starting to believe. But big shot, for Mac. Cup's hurt. Chubb's to the IR. I mean, hit after hit. Sean's team running back question marks that you mentioned. Let's move on.
Yep, in game 3, it was Hassett and Pesh. Pesh kicked things off with sleepy Joe Burrow, who struggled with a deficit in week 1 and failed to rally the purple voters in Ohio in week 2, barely surviving his second term at 90. Garrett Wilson eased concerns with another long touchdown. Mike Evans put in a career 94-point game, and Tony Pollard-Greens was once again eating good at the cookout. But it was that time of the month for Pesh as things turned red, and Tampax Etienne Jr. and the Sun God became the Blood God as both failed to stop the flow of tacklers and left the game early with cramps. For Hassett, it was a well-balanced outing across the board as Herbert put up an easy 120. PJ Hawkinson waxed on a touchdown and waxed off another as the Karate Kid swished Pesh like grape. Rain, South Dakota Prescott put up another 115 as he Hushmored his critics, while Jordan heads a ton of yards and a touchdown as part of a 52-point outing. Ramondre and Tyreek add a touchdown each and sing, "Just the two of us," to Curt as him and Hassett move to 2-0 in first place in the standings. That's at 601. Pizza Buyer Pesh 474. Bill, your instant reaction.
Yeah, this one surprised me, right? Last week I predicted Pesh to come out on top, and Pesh put up the low score of the week, 474. I mean, it's not terrible, but Hassett another 600 week. Hassett, I mean, you got to say he's the early season cream of the crop here. We'll see where he's at later in the rankings, but congrats to Hassett.
There we go.
Taking my stars away.
There you go, Pesh. Sorry about that. But we take you to game 4, the first of our Monday night miracles, as Dooley steals a win late over DH. DH gets 2 touchdowns from Barkley, but he almost shoots himself in the foot. But luckily, Brian Robinson has experience in this department and helps DH avoid major injury, adding 2 touchdowns himself as they combine for 180. Tyler Lockett adds 72 and continues his quest as the quietest fantasy stud in history. Unfortunately for DH, his car has driven too many miles as Derek and Sanders combine for only 65 points. On the other side, CJ Stroud makes Daddy Dooley proud as he fathers a 120-point outing and might be Dooley's best prospect since Reed. Mahomes looks bad yet again and puts up 120, while T. Higgins is now averaging 42 points on the year after his 84-point outing. Ultimately, it was Burning Man all over again Monday night for DH as Pittsburgh D came on DH from behind en route to a loss. Dooley 598, DH 574. Your instant reaction.
Tooth decay, that's what DH called himself. It's more like DH decay. His team's on the downfall. Big performance from Dooley. Props off to him. I was wrong again. Wrong once, wrong twice, probably wrong a couple times. We'll do better on that. Big performance from his quarterbacks. CJ Stroud, who would have expected. I probably won't repeat it. I'm going to stick with my guns here and say, Dooley won't repeat. And DH, Saquon will wait and see what's in store for his team going forward.
There you go. And in our final matchup of the week, it was a dud until it wasn't. A Monday night thriller as David takes down Bill. For Bill, return to quarterback points as he gets 230 from Jalen and Lamar. Derrick Henry does what David can't and reminds us that you can be both fat and fast, putting up 61 points in the process. Buxton and the Jeffersons are moving on up to the NFC North side as he and James Cook remind everyone it's all in the family and both put up 65-point outings. But it was David and Russell Wilson who levels up to 130 points in. 1-2 steps himself into the top 5 quarterbacks on the season. Ejon Mustard Robinson gets spicy once again as the catch-up Metcalf is as consistent as a dog on the grill. In true David fashion, his best players were on his bench as Christian Kirk found God in week 2 and Jerome Ford Tuck will provide the right balance of power and function off the bench. But in the final play of the night, Monday night ended like we all hope it does, with a drunken OTP H.J. Watt who scooped the ball, stroked it until he splooged in the belly of the end zone. Bill and Travis Kelce will look to shake it off to avoid moving to 0-3. David 548, Bill 536, and that is our week 2 recap. Woo! I'm a little out of breath, feel a little out of shape, but week 2 in the books, boys. Man, how about that final Monday night? Bill loses to David. Pesh, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think I speak for everyone in the league besides Bill that, we're all thrilled. Can't say we predicted. Can't say we predicted this, but I think anytime Bill loses, next to Hassett losing, that's probably my second favorite thing.
Bill, how are you feeling? I mean, a loss late in the 4th. I mean, it's got to hurt. What is it, like 11:30 p.m.? You're trying to go to bed. You're probably exhausted, and you lose to David. Can't feel good.
I was laying in bed and going back to my marriage. My wife kept looking over at me and saying, "Put your phone away, go to sleep." And I was just like, "It's important, babe." And so it's not going well.
Any other thoughts? So what are the big takeaways? I mean, Curt wins 2-0, Hassett wins 2-0, Mac beats Sean, Dooley, late win versus DH, David late win versus Bill. What do you guys think? What was your biggest surprise in week 2?
I think my biggest surprise was like three of us were, thought to be kind of like, dynasty experts. We're 3 of the top 4 dynasty scoring people. We think we know what we're talking about, but our predictions were pretty off the mark, and there seems to be some good parity in the league. There's teams that we didn't expect to do well. There's teams we expect to do well, do poorly. It's gonna be a wild season.
Right, but we don't all agree on who those really good teams are, right? I mean, we hyped up Fenchie last week, but there's some teams out there that we disagree on. Dooley, for instance. I think Dooley's a playoff team. You guys don't seem to, but
that's true.
We'll get to those in a second, Bill. You've got our power rankings for us later. We'll also get into our week 3 predictions and remind ourselves how bad we were at picking in week 2. Last thing to recap week 2 here. We look at the fab offers. Zach Ertz for $11, Pesh. The next closest bid was 0 from Mac. Craig Reynolds, $9 for Mac against no bid. So those were the 2 big ones, no competition. You told us last week, bidding high wasn't your thing. You're the top of the standings, you're a dynasty leader. 9-0, 11-0. How are you feeling about your Zach Ertz bid?
I think that says more about the rest of the league than me. I think, the rest of the league probably should have bid a little higher, maybe higher than me. I think I valued him fairly and put it in the $25 bet for Zach Wilson. I think Zach Ertz is the right Zach on my team.
Are you that desperate for a tight end that you really made a big offer here?
Is that a big offer?
Yeah, I'd say so. $11 when nobody else wants him.
Yeah. Maybe, Bill, the other half of this equation that you didn't see is that Pesh dropped Kyle Pitts in the process to make this pickup. So that's an interesting development. It's Thursday night. He clears waivers on Friday. Bill, you have Kelsey. I have Hockenson. I don't think either one of us will be involved. So by the time this comes out, what do we think? Anyone going to bid on Kyle Pitts? How much money we spending? Tight end's been down this year. Do you anticipate anyone spending some money on Kyle Pitts?
People have been talking about Kyle Pitts all of last year and the beginning of this year, and he hasn't shown up at all. I mean, if somebody at the bottom, like McIntosh or DH, wants to take a stab at him, maybe he'll be a bit of he'll strike gold with him. Maybe that'll work out. But otherwise, I think most of the league's sitting pretty.
Objectively speaking, I think it takes a good manager to know when they made a mistake, live up to admit it, and cut ties. Pitts wasn't doing his job. We like to do our job on this team, and if you don't do your job, we replace you, and that's what I did.
There you go. Tight end position has been really bad. TJ Hockenson has 1 billion points. Hunter Henry has 1 billion points. Everyone else has been very mediocre. So we'll see how that develops. Okay, cool. On to just hot takes. Why don't you kick us off, Pesh? I mentioned it in my recap. They're calling him Bustin' Fields here in Chicago. Give us your first hot take of the night. How are you feeling about the Bears, about Justin Fields in particular? Where are you at there?
It's interesting. Like, I was trying to think back. I was like, my hot take is, Justin Fields is terrible. Ohio State doesn't produce quarterbacks. Rest in peace, guy before him. But, they haven't been putting out much in the NFL. I think there's trouble in paradise. My sources told me, Justin Fields wants out. He wants to start over. He wants a new team. Someone close to him said he's done with the Bears. He's slow on his reads. He's hesitating. He's 5-21 in his 25 starts. Like, no one's done that poorly.
Yeah.
In a league that values quarterbacks, dual threats, he's not putting up points. He's not putting up W's. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't feel too happy having him right now.
Yeah. Mitch, I saw a stat line that compared Mitchell Trubisky to Justin Fields, and Mitchell Trubisky outperformed him in every metric except rushing. So, we gotta take a step back and say, is Justin Fields everything that we thought he was going to be? I don't know, but it's only 2 weeks in, so things can change.
2 weeks in, 25 games.
2 weeks, 25 games. 4th round keeper for Fenchie. I think thought to be a pretty top end keeper coming into the year. Thought by some to be a top 5 quarterback, especially when considering the running prowess. I see him ranked right now. He's quarterback 25 on the year. He's averaging 75 points in our league. Just put in a 70. Reality is he's not running. He doesn't have nearly the rushing attempts that he did last year. So we'll have to see what happens there. Breaking news yesterday, Cam Akers to the Vikings. Pesh, hot take number 2. How are you feeling about the Vikings running backs?
And it was interesting because I had this hot take before the trade. I wanted to talk about it. I was like, I see Alexander Mattison. Sure. People saw glimpses of him last year. Alexander Mattison's not him. We saw last week on my hot take, I told you who it was him. Bijan, and that's still the case. But Alexander Mattison is not him. You know, I knew there was trouble up there before they even made the Cam Akers trade. I was surprised by it, but, you know, numbers don't lie. My eyes don't lie, and he's not doing his job. And they made a trade, and Cam Akers is someone who needs a shot, and whoever has him is probably going to be pretty happy about this, to be honest.
Bill, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's like I said, it's just too early in the season. We're going to see how things shake out. You know, I've liked Mattison from what I've seen of him, but I don't know what the offense is thinking up there in Minnesota. So we'll see how it plays out.
Well, I mean, the offense up in Minnesota has been tremendous. It's been one of the best offenses in the league. They've got a garbage defense, but the offense has been there.
That's what I'm saying, though. But they're adding in. I mean, they're bringing in someone else to complement that. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's probably not a good, show of faith in terms of how the Vikings feel about Mattison. Obviously, I traded Mattison this offseason. I think the value with him has always been the volume, and now he's got someone who's a threat to his volume. So, Pesh, if it's not Mattison, you know, you want to talk a little bit about your boy, the latest and greatest pickup. He's hitting the airwaves. If Mattison is not him, who is?
Yeah, I mean, there's this guy, you know, Puka Nakua. I mean, I imagine I'm saying the name right. And, you know, I can put him into any segment. This guy is a natural winner. You know, this guy, for me, is the next Amon-Ra St. Brown. And this is coming from the guy who discovers wide receivers for a living. Dude.
That's
10 receptions. Yeah, that's me.
Oh.
10 receptions week 1, 15 receptions week 2. Let's extrapolate that. I'm thinking 15 receptions next week. All right. You know, yardage 119, 147. This guy's a rookie. I mean, this guy is that guy.
I just don't know, right? When's Cooper Kupp come back? Because that's gonna put an end to Al Pesh's fun train. I think it's gonna derail your train. He's always gonna play second fiddle to Cooper Kupp. So I like him, but I don't love him.
Yeah, we will see what happens when Cooper Kupp comes back. I mean, this looks like a typo. He has 35 targets in 2 weeks. I mean, that's absolutely absurd. So, you know, but that's incredible volume. So we'll see what happens when Cooper Kupp comes back. Pesh, you know, one team we probably wouldn't expect to talk about coming into the year that you wanted to highlight here, Pesh's hot takes, one of the sneaky good offenses in the league. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think another one is a comeback story. You know, Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks are for real. You know, they lose Tom Brady. They end up with this guy named Baker, fizzled out in Cleveland after, like, you know, lightning in the pan. He had one good season, you know, tanked the next season. But this guy, you know, he's got some weapons around him. He's got a little bit of a running game, and that offense is buzzing. You know, it's busting. So, like, I think watch out for the Bucks. I think they're for real. I think that division's open, and I think they can make a good run at it. I think the fantasy receivers have a lot of power right there. The running backs can play. Mike Evans, monster game. You know, even with that didn't help me, but that's a hot take. He said they're going to make the playoffs. Baker's going to be a
Nobody was talking about the Bucks, Bill. How are you feeling about the Bucks?
You know, it's interesting, right? Because everyone wrote them off after Tom Brady left. Everyone wrote him off. And now Baker's coming in and he's saying, we can do this, guys. He's leading the team. So it's inspiring. I had Baker last year. He helped me make it to the championship game. As a manager, I asked too much out of him in the championship game. He let me down a little bit, but I have mad respect for the guy. I'm happy to see him doing well.
Baker Mayfield in a fantasy championship. Probably not what you want. But week 1, week 2, 2023, not so bad. He's quarterback 10 so far. And you're right. Mike Evans obviously had a massive game last week. Wide receiver 2. Rashad White had a big game as well. So sneaky good offense out of the Bucks. All right, let's get into some hot topics. We'll try to keep this one quick. Buy, sell. We saw it Monday night. The plays were made by the defense. But coming up to that, Pittsburgh offense, I think a little bit hot and cold. George Pickens, big playability, clearly. How do we feel about Pittsburgh's offense? How do we feel about George Pickens? Buy or sell the Steelers? Bill, let's kick it off with you.
Yeah, I'll buy the Steelers. I watch some of their games because they're in the same division as the Ravens. It's a really good team. They compete year in, year out. You guys aren't used to that. But, you know, I watch them as frequently as I can. And, you know, George Pickens, he's fast. From what I've seen, he's got good hands. Also, Pickett can sling the ball. People say Pickett's slow. People say Reed's slow. I think Pickett's great from what I've seen. So I'm going to buy him.
Back over to you.
You know, I respect what you're saying, but this is an obvious sell for me. You know, this is a classic second-year regression. Pickett, you know, he's missing throws, easy throws, missing reads. You know, yeah, Pickens is huge. He's an easy target. This guy, like 6'5". You know, I could throw him the ball and he'll catch some balls. But, you know, Pickett's come down. You know what he threw this huge game last week? He threw 50%. Turnovers off the wazoo, barely beating the Cleveland Browns. You know, it was hard to watch that game, to be honest. If you watch that game through and through, I mean, you just must not have had anything else going on.
Alpesh, speaking of the Cleveland Browns and QB regression, you've got a good candidate on your hands with Deshaun Watson.
Well, he's never done anything for me, so he hasn't regressed for me. He's just, just hasn't progressed.
You can only go up. Yeah, Watson hasn't looked good, and you know what? I think I'm going to be with Pesh on this one. I'm going to sell the Steelers. I did not think Pickett looked good. I thought he was missing guys. I did think he looked slow. My takeaway was that he's not a good quarterback, but George Pickens is a stud. He's going to have big playability. We'll see if he can do it enough to be a consistent fantasy guy. We'll see. Okay, cool. So, I'm in first right now. In second is Curt. Maybe a little bit of a surprise. I think last week, Bill, you had, I think I'm in eighth, but Curt's 2-0. So buy, sell Curt as a very real contender. A, he'll make the playoffs. B, he'll contend. Curt 2-0. This time, Pesh, let's start with you. How do you feel about Curt's team?
Yeah, I can't remember what I said about Curt last week. It probably wasn't anything good. But I'm happy to say, maybe not happy, but I'm buying. Curt's. I look at his team now. I look at it a little more closely. I see the points they're putting up, and I'm starting to believe he's got some quarterbacks. Stafford's putting up some points. He's got some receivers. He's got Diggs, Devontae Smith. They've been pretty consistently good. DeAndre Swift is starting to step up in Philadelphia and take the reins there. He's got some solid people. I mean, there's a little question mark there in Daniel Jones and his backup quarterback situation. But I do like his team, unfortunately.
I look at Curt's team and I don't see it making the playoffs despite being 2-0. I mean, you look at their problems at tight end, their problems at running back. He's starting Samaje Perine. I'm not seeing it out of this team. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he is 2-0, as you said. Maybe not a lot of star power right now. Has also faced a little nicks and bruises here. Austin Eckler a couple of weeks. Christian Watson, has he played yet? I don't think he has, actually. So he is dealing with some bumps and bruises. So I think Pesha a buy, Bill a sell. I'm going to reluctantly buy. He's 2-0. I think missing the playoffs at 2-0 with Austin Eckler as a reinforcement coming would definitely hurt. So I think he's going to make the playoffs, but I don't know if I think I sell him as a real contender. I don't know if this team has sold me yet. We'll see how Daniel Jones does. Not off to a hot start tonight. Okay, next one, buy, sell. On the flip side, none of us were very high on him last week. He pulls out the last second win against Bill. How are we feeling about David's team? I put my flag in the ground last week and called him my 10th best team. I'm thrilled that he won. The question is, buy, sell David to make the playoffs.
I'll start. I think David's right on that cusp. I think he could be in if some of his guys show up, but overall, I'd say he's on the outside looking at it at this point. I just think there are too many good teams that are going to get in front of him. I think us three, I think Fenchy, Dooley, and I'll give it to somebody like Sean in front of David.
I'm going to buy. I gave him some shit last time, but his team came to play. Made a miracle comeback that was fun for all of us to witness. Besides Bill. Russell Wilson has some potential still. He can put up some points. I really do think Bijan's just going to carry this team. I mean, did you guys see that video of him Matrix jukes? It was like a video game. Yeah,
he looks incredible.
If Nico Collins actually produces, Christian Kirk had a comeback game. Mark Andrews always performs. Jerome Ford, he kind of lucked into this. Whatever you call it, he lucked into an injury, an IR injury for Chubb. I know they got Kareem Hunt, but I still think Jerome Ford's number one. So he's got some pieces there. Pickett, I'm not sold on, but enough to maybe make the playoffs. I don't think he's gonna win a championship this year, but I think there's things in the right direction there.
Yeah. So Pesh is gonna put him in the playoffs. Bill says no. I think I'm gonna stick with no. I think his team is better than I gave it credit for last week. I think Josh Jacobs will continue to rebound. Bijan is incredible. Russell Wilson at quarterback 5 right now is saving grace. Who's still above him? Jordan Love. We talked about that last week. So it's still some poor decisions hurting him there, but it's an okay team. I don't think it's making the playoffs. I still think it's missing. I hope I can help him miss the playoffs this week. So we'll see how that goes. All right, last one, buy, sell. We talked about it earlier. Pesh, we'll start with you. He's your guy. Is Puka going to be the best pickup of the year?
That's a buy. I got to say Puka is the best pickup of the year. I mean, I understand. I was here when Bill talked about, Cooper Kupp come back. Those are 8-10 week injuries in my medical opinion. And I don't know if you're going to come back solid this season. And by then, you got chemistry with the new guy. Stafford's got chemistry with Puka. Puka's bigger, taller, stronger, tanner than Cooper Kupp. I'm gonna go with Puka Chew.
Puka Chew, the new namesake. Bill, how are you feeling about Puka, and will he prove to be the best pickup 16 weeks from now?
I can't argue with all his targets and all his catches so far. Yeah, I'm worried once Cooper Kupp comes back, but Kyren was better than Cam Akers, who they just got rid of. So, that's not saying that much. I'm not sold on Kyren yet.
Yeah, his own teammate Kyren Williams, also in contention. He was a late round draft pick, but in the same category of sort of late round flyers. A good 18th round pick for DH. Currently on the practice squad. We'll see if he keeps the job and if he still is what he is in week 7. Okay, cool. So that's buy sell for week 2. Bill, long-awaited power rankings. How did you feel making the power rankings this week? Were you conflicted?
Yeah.
Was it straightforward? Are you seeing things clearly? Probably not that clearly, your own too, but in terms of how the league is doing, are your power rankings clear to you? Tell us a little bit about your process.
Yeah, look, I said last year, I based the power rankings a lot on injuries. When guys go down, Max first round, second round pick, Cooper Kupp went down week 1. It's devastating, right? But moving forward, he might struggle. So that's what my rankings really do. There were some surprises that after week 1, there were some surprises. So some guys made big jumps this week. We'll start it off.
Kick us off with number 10. Same as last week. Max is not going to be thrilled. He's still in 10 for you. How do you feel about Mac?
I think everybody was watching the game when Chubb got injured, and so Mac Daddy, you can change your all's well that Atwell's. I don't even know who Atwell plays for, man. What position does he play? You're going to need more than a new team name, my friend.
Quick reaction to Mac in 10th place. He was 10th last week. You still agree?
Yeah, it's tough because you want to be like, this guy put up 600 points. He took a pizza from me, but this is a future forecast. He doesn't have Kupp back. I don't know when he's coming back. Chubb's out. He's in trouble. I feel bad for the kid. He had a great performance, but
yeah,
that was nice of you to buy him a pizza in Scotland. That was great.
Yeah, you paid up on that quick. That was pretty impressive. Coming in at 9th, Bill. Again, same as last week. You've got DH in 9th. How are you feeling about DH's team?
Yeah, it's not getting any better, right? Saquon went down. At least he's not gone for the whole season, we don't think. But what's his team name? Tooth decay? I would say the only thing decaying here is his chance at a playoffs.
Damn. And, Bill is a new father. So, this makes sense. Dad jokes.
Thank you.
There you go. DH, in our league, he's in 7th. 7th out of 10th. He's 1-1. He's going to play Curt this week. We'll talk about that matchup in a second. Saquon injury, not going to be full year, it sounds like. Maybe even as short as something like 2 weeks. But, we'll see. Obviously, he lost Aaron Rodgers, Barkley going down. Nothing really stands out in his team when I stare at the roster. Nothing really jumps off the page. He's been talking about Jaylen Warren. Looks like he'll start him this week. We'll see if he gets a little boost there. Okay, Bill, let's keep it moving. Who do you got in 8th?
So we got Sean. And this is disappointing for me because I was a Sean advocate last week. I think I had him in 4th place, but he really let me down losing this second game. And, I look at his roster and it just gets a little bit more complicated now that Akers is on the Vikings. He doesn't really have any stud running backs. And I look at it and I'm like, Mac and DH's running backs might be better than Sean's at this point. So Sean, really, he's 0-2. I'm disappointed. I think he'll come around, but right now I've got him in 8th place.
Yeah, that would be a drop of 4 spots from last week. Pesh, do you agree with that drop? How are you feeling about Sean?
Sean is starting this guy named Matt Breida. And yeah, I don't think I need to say any more than that.
Matt Breida it is. He's playing tonight. He currently has 8 points at halftime. Or not quite halftime. Maybe that's actually overachieving. Hard to know exactly. So, okay, coming in 7th. Same as last week for him. Bill, you did defend Dooley a little bit. You felt like he was a little better than the rest of us were giving him credit for. You had him at 7th last week.
Yeah.
You called him a playoff team a tiny bit earlier, but you still have him at 7th here. Yeah. Where do you stand on Dooley?
Yeah. Dooley's one of those guys who's right on the cusp. I said that about David earlier, but I have Dooley on the outside looking in right now, but that could easily flip-flop. Part of the reason I kept him out, right, is because his team name is Fantasy Incompetence. If he doesn't have confidence in himself, then how's he going to be able to lead this group of guys, right? So right now I've got him on the outside in. Maybe he changes his name to Fantasy Competence, and next week he's in 5th or 6th.
What do you think about that? Is he a name change away from the playoffs?
I disagree, though. I think he's name change away from 9th place, 10th place. Same name away from 9th place, 10th place.
There you go.
I'm just not sold yet. I don't want to be the guy who just hates on Dooley every week, but not sold on that management or that roster.
Speaking of, I just mentioned, we just talked about Sean playing tonight. He's playing Dooley. That's a fun matchup. They're also both playing guys tonight. I said Burrito with 8 points at halftime, Darren Waller with 6 points at halftime. So these two are shooting fireworks right now in fantasy. Bill,
they are
who
who
is
we
your?
thought they were.
They are who we thought they were. Bill, who do you have at 6?
Right, we've got David at 6. David, Dooley, they're right around, they're right around that cusp. We'll see. You look at David's team, you see some inconsistency. You see some guys getting really low scores, and you're like, what's going on here? But he beat me last week, so I can't talk too much trash.
He did. Pesh, what do you think about David?
Big week for David. Yeah, I think he's on a comeback trail. I'm excited to see how his team does. I think it's a big question mark going forward. I don't think anyone has a great read on him. So, I'm rooting for the kid. Not too much. I'm still a little bit ahead of him dynasty points. I'd like to keep that.
Bill, we get now into your top 5. One of your big movers this week, up 3 spots from 8th last week. Curtis Fields, 2-0, your 5th overall team. Should he be higher?
No, he should be right where he is. He should be in 5th. I am impressed with, people give Curt a hard time, right? DH shits on Curt for being a bad manager. Pesh shits on Curt for being a bad manager. But he's impressive. He's got a lot of cues on his team. He's got some questions, but he's like a rat. He's like fighting in there. His team's getting wins.
Do you think Curt's a rat?
I don't think he's a snitch. If that's I think his team's good. I think I admit that I shit on him last week, and no rat turds on him this time. I think he's the playoff team. I'll eat my words.
Yeah, impressive, including because he's done it without Eckler so far, at least last week. Looks like he'll have that again this week. I think Bill is referencing the Rat King, who just has to survive by killing all the other rats. I think that's the analogy Bill is making there, maybe. But Curt the Rat coming in at 5th. A big team for us last week. We talked a lot about Fenchie. You had him in 2nd. A loss drops him 2 spots to 4th. Bill, Fenchie coming in at 4th for you?
I think I can speak for everyone on this podcast. I think we were disappointed with Fenchie's performance, right? We hype him up. Fenchie's he's our savior, and he's coming, and then he lets us down. He's, Pesh, who was your favorite basketball player back in like 7th, 8th grade? You really like this guy named Darko Milicic, and you hyped him up. You said this guy's great. He's going to be LeBron James, and then he fucking sucked. And we're headed that direction with Fenchie.
So, just one quick fact check. He came out in the same draft as LeBron James. So I didn't think he was going to be LeBron James. LeBron James wasn't a thing at the time. I thought he was going to be like the next Dirk, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, but not LeBron James.
So if Fenchie is Darko, he's going to be worse than 4th. Are you predicting a further fall, or will there be a reverse course here for Fenchie?
I hope there's not a further fall, right? If he finishes 7th or 8th or 9th again or 10th, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Maybe we kick him out of the league and find somebody else.
That would be disappointing, but he's 1-1 right now. He's in 3rd. He scored enough points to be the top 1-1 team, so he's still in a safe spot right this second. Let's get into your top 3. Bill, you put yourself first.
A quick side note on Fenchie. This is kind of an interesting thing. So you mentioned earlier Jordan Love, top 5 quarterback. And then we also talked about how shitty Justin Fields was. As the current matchup stands, Fenchie is starting Justin Fields and benching Jordan Love. I think he's going a little heavy on the ESPN projections, not using his own instincts. And maybe this is what we need to constant 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th place finishes. I would ride Jordan Love here. I'm just saying.
Bill, what do you think about that accusation? Is Fenchie a rankings slave?
It's disappointing to see someone who doesn't have, going back to confidence, right? Dooley's fantasy incompetence. He doesn't have the confidence to lead his team. Does Fenchie have the confidence to lead his guys if he's just deferring to ESPN projections?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Should he be starting Jordan Love over Justin Fields? We'll see. He also has Kirk, who is quarterback 1. So we talked a lot about quarterbacks last week. I don't think we mentioned Fenchie. Kirk, Jordan Love, and then the underwhelming Justin Fields. So we'll see if Fenchie bounces back. You've got him in 4th, down from 2nd last week. Bill, take us to your top 3. Last week you put yourself at 1st after a loss. Are you going to be in 1st again? Or am I seeing this that maybe you've dropped yourself to 3rd?
So, I'll say that there are 3 positions left, and there are 3 of us on the podcast that we haven't been talked about yet. So
no bias at all.
There's no bias in this podcast. That is just, these are just facts. So you're just right.
But I'm going to put myself in third. You know, I said on last week's podcast that if I lost again in week 2, I would reconsider my first place projection. So I've dropped myself to third. I'm disappointed with my guys. I've rounded them up in the locker room, and we've had talks about what needs to change moving forward. So I'm not going to discuss that here because those conversations are private. But I've you know, what's the term? I've eaten my own cheese or something. And I've humbled myself down to third.
All right. I'll hold himself down to third. Pesh, you know, if you were Bill, would you be feeling confident? Are you feeling good? Do you think he's a third place team? Standings say he's ninth. How are you feeling?
You know, if anyone followed our fantasy league last year, you know, Bill has a history of having low character players on his team and not disciplining them appropriately. And, you know, I think, you know, when you have all this talent and you don't have good management, good leadership, high character players, you know, this is what you know, it's all talent, no show, you know, there's no, you know, he's in ninth place, you know, he's putting himself up there high. He's, you know, hubris before the fall, you know, I don't know what else to say. You know, the team needs, you know, a disciplinarian apparently.
Yeah. The team might need some leadership. You know, if you look down the list, you see a bunch of guys that are having decent seasons. Jalen Hurts, QB 14, Derrick Henry 8th, Justin Jefferson 3rd, James Cook 11th, Tyler Algier RB 9. I mean, you should be scoring points here, unless you're starting the wrong guys. You know, so it's been tough. Bill, is there a leadership problem on this team, or is this team going to get it right? You're 0-2. Can you afford to go to 0-3? You know, where are you going to be next week?
You know, like I said, we've had these meetings. We keep this stuff in house. We're not going to talk to the media, so I'm not going to address those matters at this point.
All right, there you go. We're keeping it tight knit. We'll see what happens this week. You're playing Pesh. Speaking of Pesh, you got himself, myself here. Who's your top two? Give them to us 1-2, and let's wrap it up for the folks at home.
You know, these guys played each other in week 2, and Hassett came out and he proved his dominance. You know, he took a shit right on Pesh's front lawn. So, you know, Hassett scored 600 and something. Pesh scored 400 something buying pizzas. This isn't what we like to see out of Pesh. I mean, so I don't know. We got Pesh in 2. We got Hassett in 1. Hassett doesn't seem to give a shit that J.K. Dobbins got hurt because he's got guys on the bench ready to. It's the next guy up. He's got guys ready to come in. So props to Hassett. He's in first. He's in the running for manager of the year this year. I would put it between him and Curtis. You know, Curtis. They're both right up there.
We had a tough matchup last week. Wasn't so tough for me. Tough for you, pizza buyer. Bill still got you in second though. So obviously you feel good about your team. Bill still feels decent about your team. How are you feeling about coming in second here?
You know, I think the big question mark on my team, which we have to get through, is, and this is a huge elephant in the room, and it's Deshaun Watson, right? Is this the guy to lead my team? I invested a lot in him last season. I kept him last season. And, you know, luckily for me, I do have a backup stud in Howell. So, you know, I think there's things. I got Kamara coming back in a couple weeks. I got Puka, Pukachu, you know, that's my dude. And, you know, I have some stuff to look forward to. I think my team will be just fine. You know, Hassett doesn't give a shit, but he dropped a shit on my team, and, you know, we're going to bounce back from that.
We took a shit on your front lawn.
Shit on the front yard. It's true. That did happen. You know, coming into the year, I think you were excited about feeling good about your quarterbacks. I think that was a point coming into it. Deshaun Watson, you were able to take Burrow 3 overall. So, man, tough start for Burrow. Do you feel like he's going to turn things around?
I do. I'm not worried about Burrow. I'm worried about Watson. You know, I'm not worried about Burrow. I don't think anyone who watches football is worried about Burrow. This is preseason. He'll bounce back.
So, Bill, you got me at first. Thank you for the kind words. You know, I don't think I'm in the clear by any means. It's been a hot start. We're still thin in a few spots, but you guys talked a lot about quarterbacks last week, and you talked about a lot of teams' quarterbacks, and you didn't talk about my quarterbacks. And we just had 4 guys have 100+ points in a single week, so I'm feeling much better about that position. We'll see what happens at the running back spot, but number 1 overall in week 2, I'll take it.
I said
words for your power rankings.
You know, Pesh, what did I say last week? I said, you know, you can have 3-4 quarterbacks who put up points, but how many of them can you start?
I think it's 2, right?
It's 2.
Well, I started the top 2 scorers, and it wouldn't have mattered which one I started because I whooped the shit out of Pesh. So we'll wrap up the power rankings there. Top to bottom, Max still in 10th. DH comes in 9th. Sean, a bit of a drop to 8th, down from 4th. Julian 7th. David in 6th. Our top 5 are Curt, Fenchie, and rounding out the top 3, we've got Bill in 3rd, Pesh in 2nd, myself in 1st. Love to see it. Okay, let's wrap this thing up. We'll run through them. We're going to do a little bit of week 3 predictions. We weren't good last week, so we were combined 4-11 across 5 games times 3, so 15 picks. We were 4-11. You two were 1-4. At least I was 2-3. we're going to see if we can turn things around this week. Bill, you've been the defender of Dooley. He was the only game you picked correctly last week, so kudos to you. We've got Sean projected in a close one over Dooley. We just talked about it a second ago. Bill, who you got?
We got Dooley.
In the battle, kind of the worst, I got Sean.
And I'm going to take Dooley as well, so I'll reverse course a little bit. It'll be close. It's been a stinker so far tonight for the guys that they have. DH and Curt, they're both coming in. DH projected at 520, Curt at 500. Those numbers feel a little bit low. Who do you guys got, DH or Curt?
That's Curtis for me. I think DH is, as Bill said, decaying in the chances of the playoffs.
Yeah, DH, he just has too many injuries. I don't think Curt's team is going to the playoffs without Curt.
I think Curt's team's better. I'm picking DH this week. I think Curt does have a few key injuries, and I think he's got some tough matchups, especially with Daniel Jones playing the 49ers tonight. So I'm going to take DH there. Fenchie, currently a large projection, the largest gap of the week. Fenchie 570, Mac 500. Who you guys got there?
I just want to go back to the last one. Just a side note. I know it was mentioned earlier, but it should be, said again. DH is starting New York Giants defense.
Yes, that's it.
Right there.
Come across the chat. That's a tough start. Who you got in Fenchie?
I got Fenchie. Mac's just too injury ridden, and I don't know when he's gonna get healthy. It might be too low to wait. Sounds like me last season.
I got Fenchie. I'm not jumping off of the Darko Milicic train yet, but another loss or two, and I might have to.
I'm going to take Fenchie here as well. I already expected a lot out of McCaffrey, and he's shown that in the first half tonight. Fenchie's going to take a little bit of a projection lead. Clean sweep for us. 2 games left. We're going to wrap with you guys, obviously. So you've got myself and David. Projections-wise, it's tight. Myself, 545. David, 540. Pesh, this time we'll start with you. Who you got, Hassett or David?
I do think David's a playoff team. I don't think he's better than Hassett's team. I got Hassett.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this and I think Hassett's going to come out with a win. His defense has put up crazy points, and Dallas defense, and they're going to crush the Cardinals this week.
Yeah, I haven't drafted a defense in like 10 years. I drafted the Cowboys this year. Thought they'd be good, but goddamn, not this good. I'm going to take myself as well. Clean sweep for us. All right, the matchup of the week, the podcast match of the week, the big hitters, the 2 largest projections currently. Bill, ESPN thinks you'll take it down at 640. Pesh, you're going to come in at 580. Pesh, you're the underdog. Why are you going to win?
I believe we're going to win just because we are. It's my team. I'm supremely confident in my players, my team. We've worked hard this week. We practiced hard. We're getting healthy again. I don't know. There's much more to be said.
Bill, a prediction for you?
We will not drop to 0-3. Mark my words.
Will not drop to 0-3. Mark his words. Strong statement from Bill. If that's true, I'm staring at the 2 of you each at 1 and 2. But Pesh, if you can pull off the win, Bill's going to be staring at 0-3. It's a deep, deep hole. And he'll have to climb out of it. So that's the week 2 pod for us. Our week 3 predictions. We'll keep track of those next week. We'll see how bad we do. Week 2 in the books. Good luck. I hope
aliens are real. Aliens are real. They're here. That's a real thing. Mexico, you saw that shit.
Aliens are real. Very true. We'll see what happens in week 3. All right, boys. So 2 in the books.
Hang on, I'm gonna cut this out. Hassett, who's your defense play this week? Sorry.
He's at Dallas defense.
The Cowboys play Cardinals.
Cowboys play Cardinals? Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
All right, you're gonna crush. All right. Yeah, I mean, I look at this.
Pesh, you're the underdog. Why are you gonna win?
I think I don't have a great reason for it. I think my team believes in ourselves.